an upgrade, and I think that will help immensely. As long as Steph is in that lineup healthy and you've got some pieces around him, you can make the playoffs. Are they going to go to the finals? No, I don't believe that's going to happen. But in terms of Klay coming back, remember, Klay is a sniper, an elite sniper. As far as I'm concerned, one of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball. A surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, a 3-time champion, 5 straight trips to the NBA Finals, none of which would have occurred had he not been there, as far as I'm concerned, at least the first couple of years before Kevin Durant got there. I don't believe that would have happened. Klay Thompson is that special. He's that underappreciated. As far as I'm concerned, the biggest crime that has ever taken place against him was when the media didn't put him on the 3rd team. And I believe it was Kemba Walker, if I remember correctly, Max and Kendrick. I'm not sure, but I believe it was Kemba Walker. But when you consider the fact that Klay Thompson has done what he's done over the course of his career, and the media cost him an opportunity to get the Supermax deal for over $220 million. And he had to settle for like $30 to $35 million less just because he wasn't selected on that 3rd team All-NBA over a year ago. That was criminal, because this is Klay Thompson that we're talking about here. So I'm really sad that he's down, because he makes the NBA better. Watching him and Steph Curry, I mean, it is a show. Make no mistake about it. You walk through the turnstiles to see what they bring to the table. So I'm incredibly sad for him. He deserves all the praise in the world, all our prayers for him to come back healthy, because he makes the game better. But in the end, I think ultimately when he comes back, they will pick up right where they left off, being championship contenders, because I don't believe you lose your shot. And as KP explained yesterday about KD, when KD had that foot injury and KD was literally sitting in chairs or shooting jump shots, you don't lose your marksmanship because of an Achilles tear or anything like that. Klay will eventually be back. And once he's back, as long as him and Steph Curry are in the lineup together, they are a championship contender, period.
Klay is an incredible shooter, but that's half the story with him. He's also an excellent defender. And you know, coming off an ACL, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, you know, he'll get back, sure. I was thinking, well, at least it's not an Achilles, but that's not a cupcake. That's tough to come back from it 100%. And now it is an Achilles in addition, you know, in back-to-back years. Look, can they get back? It's possible they can get back, because it starts with ownership. We had Joe Lacob on the show yesterday. He's a very impressive guy. He's willing to spend luxury tax like no one else. And he's very competitive, as Bob Myers, the GM, said, who's also been very impressive, as has Steve Kerr, as has the heart and soul, the engine, rather, of that team, Steph Curry, who's back, as has his pick-and-roll partner, who I actually think has been the second most important, you know, piece in the dynasty. Obviously, you know, KD was better, but Steph's pick-and-roll partner has been Draymond. Draymond's the guy that allows him to play 5 out. Draymond does the dirty work, so they still have all, you know, the ownership, front office coach, star player, and his maybe most important piece. In that sense, the nucleus is still there, and because they just got Wiseman, who may be an excellent, excellent player, and they can either keep him or move him eventually, we'll see. Yes, they could get back, but in a bigger sense, the dynasty is over.
You mentioned this yesterday on the program. I'm glad they're playing the Zen music for me, because I had to be zenned out throughout this whole thing with Klay. It's made me sick to my stomach.
No doubt about it. I can understand the personal experience you've had with injuries and the fact that Klay could be back in time for the 2021-2022 season. But, Jay, that would be almost 2.5 years away from basketball at the highest level.
So he tore his ACL on his left knee in that game against Toronto, June 13, 2019. You fast forward 16 months later, he is working out. And look, everybody's body's different, but it seemed like he was recovering off the ACL injury, pretty well. Mm-hmm. He was going to be back to what he was, Klay. Which you can't always say that off an ACL injury, even though technology is better today than what it is, 5 years ago. For him now to tear his Achilles in the opposite leg, obviously that comes from compensating. And the thing I feel horrible about is Zubin, you said, it probably be 2 years and 4 months until he's able to play on the NBA court again, like in competition, in a game. And I think ultimately what you feel so bad about is, look, from somebody who's been through years of, just going through rehab, like the rehab fatigue, Keeg, right? Like going through it every day, 2 days a week, like 2 times a day to get back. Like ultimately, like I think he's going to come back. I don't know if he's going to be the same player as he was before. I'm not sure. The guy was, one of the things that made him so great is that defensively, he was a stopper. You could put him on the opposing team's best player, and he would go out and lock up, and then also give you 35, 40 points some nights. Big time offensive player. I don't know if he gets back to that caliber of player again, and that changes the dynamic of this dynasty. This dynasty is no more, by the way. Without Klay Thompson, this dynasty is no more. They'll be a good team. Steph will be great, but they won't be what they were with Steph and Klay, considerably the greatest shooting backcourt we've ever seen in the history of the game.
It's crazy, though. But I guess you kind of knew that it was the Achilles from yesterday. Prior to that, when we were on the show, news started to trickle in. Oh, it could be his Achilles again. It could be his right Achilles opposed to his knee. So you kind of start to trickle in, and you start to sit there and you say to yourself, now he has to deal with the rehab of his ankle and his Achilles. He's still rehabbing, believe it or not, his ACL because the rehab doesn't stop. It continues to strengthen that. Now you got to do both. And as Jay said, 2.5 years before you really get back into real competition on the court. Whether or not he'll be the same player, we don't know. We're assuming probably not because of the injuries, but you don't know his body. We don't know his body. I mean, he may just be a fast healer and it works out great. He's the same. I think most people, if it was on the board in Vegas betting on it, they probably would bet against it. The Warriors as a team, what happens to them and where do they go from here? I mean, they obviously are going to look today in free agency and see what's out there, what their money can buy.
They got Kelly Oubre.
They just got Kelly Oubre. And so there's still some other pieces that I'm sure that they're going to look at. Will Steph Curry be Steph Curry? He'll probably still be Steph and still do some of the same things. Won't be easy. It'll be harder. What will Wiggins give them? What will James Wiseman give them? And even with Klay Thompson on the court with them, I never had them really being a major threat in the West to the Lakers and the Clippers. I still had them hovering around 4 to 5, somewhere in that area, because we didn't know what Klay would be coming off the ACL. We haven't seen Steph Curry in a while either. So it's kind of like, what were they going to be? We assumed they were going to be this same sort of high-flying team, but they did remove Kevin Durant from that high-flying team the last time we saw them, and I understand. They won championships before KD got there. But they also had a different makeup before KD got there. Those guys are a little older, a little longer in the tooth. Draymond, for whatever last year was, it was a throwaway season. He's a little bit longer in the tooth. So it's a little bit different.
Single-double. No, sorry, I couldn't. Sometimes it's just in my head now because Charles Barkley called Draymond Green single-double as opposed to
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Key, I might have had them in the Western Conference Finals next year, depending upon what kind of draw they got.
Why though?
Because
what makes you think that?
Because their ability to score in spurts, right? Like the Lakers will always have the size advantage, but they could combat that because of the style in which they played offensively. And then you wonder about matchups. Who will LeBron James guard? Will you guys be able to sign KCP back with defensively be one of your top guards? You will be able to do that probably now because of the addition of Dennis Schroeder and you guys have cap space.
That's what I was going to say. Schroeder's there.
But still, okay, like you don't know what the Clippers are going to be.
I'm automatically putting the Lakers in. I don't care about what the Clippers do.
Understood.